Chapter 1. Key-Guided Arrow. They say the bow is a weapon capable of striking lives even beyond what the eyes can see. It moves faster than lightning, carries power like thunder, and pierces with the sharpness of a serpent's fangs. And if you think about it, what could be more terrifying than a weapon silently locking onto your life without you even seeing it? At the foothills of the Pale High Mountain, thick mist drifts through endless forests and jagged cliffs. Hidden within this quiet wilderness lies a small training ground. There, a young boy stands firmly with a bow in his hands. His posture is focused and steady as he pulls the bowstring back, aiming toward a wooden practice target planted in the ground. Behind him stands an elderly master with long white hair and a long flowing beard, carefully watching every movement the boy makes. The old master calmly begins explaining the basics. Archery is the discipline of launching an arrow with precision. The boy narrows his eyes and locks onto the target. Then, he releases the string. The bow snaps forward and the arrow shoots through the air like a streak of wind. And the next moment, it slams straight into the wooden target with a solid thud. The old master observes the result as the boy lifts his bow once again, preparing for another shot. Then he continues his instruction. What you just saw is the basic shooting technique used in standard archery. The training may look simple for now, but this is only the very first step toward mastering a far more dangerous skill.
The old master continues the lesson, his voice calm but firm as the boy listens carefully. When enemies surround you, or when time is running out, you don't always have the luxury to carefully aim your shot. Arrows suddenly burst forward through the air in rapid succession, cutting through the wind one after another. This technique is known as rapid fire, a form formed when an archer must shoot quickly in urgent situations. The arrows slam into the training target repeatedly, striking the surface with sharp impacts. But the old master isn't finished teaching. He steps closer and continues. The next level of archery is called multi-shot, a technique where several arrows are released at the same time. The boy watches attentively as the master explains further. An archer cannot truly call themselves skilled until they are capable of performing multi-shot. The old master calmly gathers arrows in his hand and knocks them onto the bowstring at once. Then he says, "You can release up to 3 arrows at the same time." With practiced precision, he pulls the bowstring back. In the next moment, 3 arrows explode forward together, racing through the air like streaks of steel. They shoot across the training ground, slicing through the wind. You can aim them at a single target or send them toward multiple targets at once. The arrows streak through the forest training range and slam forward with deadly accuracy. But then the old master lowers his bow slightly. There is still one final technique left to explain. Finally, there is something known as the key-guided arrow. At that exact moment, a rabbit suddenly bursts out from the bushes nearby, sprinting through the forest as leaves scatter behind it. The moment the rabbit dashes through the forest, the old master's eyes sharpen. Without hesitation, he pulls the bowstring back in one smooth motion and releases. The arrow explodes forward, slicing through the air with incredible speed, but instead of flying in a straight line, it suddenly curves through the forest, whipping around trees as if it were alive. The arrow twists around the thick trunk of a tree, chasing its target like a predator locked onto prey. A split second later, it strikes the fleeing rabbit instantly. The old master lowers his bow calmly and speaks. If swords can fly toward their target, then why can't an arrow do the same? Before the boy can even react, the master suddenly bursts into motion. He kicks off the ground and leaps high into the air, cloak and hair whipping wildly around him. Mid-air, he twists his body and flips with incredible agility, bow still firmly in his grasp. Then he spins and slams back down toward the ground with explosive force. In the same motion, arrows shoot upward into the sky like streaks of lightning. High above the forest, several birds are flying peacefully through the air. In an instant, the arrows pierce through them, one by one. The birds fall from the sky as the arrows find their marks with terrifying precision. The old master lands calmly as the wind settles around him. Then he declares proudly, "I call this technique the headhunter, a combination of them all." Behind him, the young boy watches in stunned silence, realizing that what he just witnessed is far beyond ordinary archery. The quiet forest returns to peace as the small hut near the mountain sits silently under the trees. Inside, the old master lies in a hammock, fast asleep. Zzz. A soft breeze passes through the trees. Suddenly, shoo, a leaf drifts down from above and lands right on his face. The old man's eyes snap open. Just then, a loud voice echoes from outside. "Grandfather! Grandfather!" The old master jolts awake with a startled gasp. Outside the hut, the boy runs toward him excitedly, while the old man lazily swings in the hammock. The old master looks over and asks, "What is it, boy?" The boy clenches his fist with excitement. "I'd like you to examine my archery. I've managed to overcome the wind." Before the old master can react, the boy suddenly smacks his head on a hanging wooden beam. Ouch! The old man immediately gets annoyed and yells at him. "Brat, you disturbed my meditation over such a silly reason?" He grumbles loudly while sitting up. "I was just about to grasp the key to flying, but you woke me up for this?" The boy rubs the back of his head awkwardly. "Ow." The old man sighs in frustration. "Ugh, ridiculous." Then he looks at the boy and scoffs. "You were even drooling. There's no way you were meditating." Suddenly, a stick smacks the boy on the head. "Ow!" The old man glares at him and snaps, "You're really asking for it, boy." But the boy quickly changes the topic. "So, you said you've overcome the wind?" The boy nods confidently and points toward a tree trunk nearby. "Yes, the wind's strong right now, so I'll shoot that trunk." The old master watches silently. Bim. Then he suddenly turns and begins walking away. "Hold on!" The boy looks confused as he stands there with his bow ready. Pew! The old master casually raises his hand and flicks a small stone toward a nearby rock. The stone strikes the surface, leaving a small mark. Then he calmly turns to the boy. "All right, shoot." The boy looks confused for a moment. "What?" Sweat runs down his face as he stares at the old man. Has he gone mad? I mean, senile? The old master raises an eyebrow. "What, not confident enough?" The boy quickly shakes his head and grips his bow tighter. "I can hit it, but please move away just in case." The old master smirks slightly. "Admit that you're not confident, aren't you, boy?" The boy hesitates and glances toward the rock. The target is small and grandfather is too big. The old master suddenly shouts at him, "Shoot! You've hit even smaller targets with the wind blowing." Taking a deep breath, the boy finally raises his bow. Sweat trickles down his cheek as he carefully pulls the bowstring back, focusing on the small mark on the rock. The forest grows quiet. Then, he suddenly lowers the bow. The old master's eyes widen. "Eh?" The old master suddenly explodes in frustration. "God darn it, you little brat. A man needs to have courage." Ch. At that exact moment, the boy comes running toward him. "Grandfather!" The old master straightens up, surprised. The boy rushes forward excitedly and shouts, "I found a wounded pigeon while I was coming down the mountains." The old man narrows his eyes slightly. "That right. Let me have a look." The boy happily runs closer, proudly presenting the bird. "This is a gift from the skies, so it's mine to eat." Before he can finish, the old master suddenly smacks him with a stick. "Eep!" The boy yelps in pain. "Why did you hit me?" The old man gestures towards the bird lying on the wooden stump. "Does this look like a mere pigeon to you?" The injured bird lies there, breathing weakly. The old master explains firmly. "This is a gerfalcon, a sacred animal that's known as the king of the skies." But the boy shrugs carelessly. "Gerfalcon or not, it's good grub as long as it's dead." The old man sighs deeply and looks at the bird again. Then he speaks with a serious tone. "This bird is a valiant and loyal falcon that'll follow its owner till its death once it finds one." The boy quietly listens now. The old master looks straight at him and asks a question. "Will you starve or save a life?" The boy blinks in confusion. "Huh? What do you mean?" The old master stares at the boy and sighs impatiently. "Are you deaf? I'm telling you to decide whether you'll starve for 2 weeks or save this gerfalcon." The boy looks down at the injured bird on the wooden table. "So, if I don't want to starve to death," the old master calmly replies, "you'll be able to save it if you try your best." After thinking for a moment, the boy begins working immediately. He crushes fresh herbs inside a bowl, grinding them carefully to make medicine. The old master explains while relaxing in his hammock nearby. Its wounds are deep in its wings, so applying an herb that can stop bleeding would be good. The boy carefully spreads the medicine onto the bird's injured wing. Nearby, a pot of herbal mixture slowly steams above a small fire. The old master continues giving instructions. "Herbal medicines are all about effort. Keep the heat low." Smoke drifts upward as the boy struggles to control the fire. He coughs from the smoke. Time passes. Finally, a powerful flap of wings echoes through the air. High above the forest, the falcon soars into the sky once again. The boy looks up in amazement. "Whoa! Grandfather, the bird's flying!" Both of them stare up at the sky as the falcon circles above. The boy grins widely. "You're so cool!" The falcon glides down and lands on the boy's arm, spreading its wings proudly. The boy laughs happily. Then he suddenly pauses and thinks, "Hold on, I should give you a name." He studies the falcon closely. "When I first saw you, you had blood running down your iron-like face, so—" The boy points excitedly at the bird. "Your surname will be Iron, and your name will be Blood. Iron Blood." He smiles brightly and asks, "What do you think? Sounds good, right? The falcon opens its beak and cries loudly in response. Chapter 2. The quiet forest cabin stands peacefully among tall trees as sunlight filters through the leaves. The old master looks at the boy and begins the next stage of training. Your archery is quite good now, so let's practice a different technique starting today. The boy tilts his head in confusion. A different technique? The old master calmly walks ahead and explains. Wolf steps, a movement technique passed down in our family. The boy listens carefully as they walk along the forest path. As the name suggests, it's a movement technique inspired by wolves. Curious, the boy asks, "Are there many different types of movement techniques?" The old master nods slightly. There's the defensive cloud step used by the Mudong faction, or the offensive frostbite step used by the Ami faction. They arrive at an open clearing in the forest. The old master turns to face the boy. Watch carefully. Suddenly, ha! The old man launches himself forward like a beast. His body shoots across the ground with explosive speed before slamming down directly in front of the boy, sending energy bursting outward. The boy freezes in surprise. The old master leans closer and says, "Did you see it? I'll do it a few more times, so pay attention." Then he begins moving again. Hap! 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 The old master leaps and lands again and again, his movements forming powerful arcs across the ground, like a wild predator bounding through the field. The boy watches in disbelief. He wants me to master that? Ridiculous! What kind of technique is that? He just looks like a frog jumping around. The old master stands proudly in the forest clearing and looks at the boy. Well, isn't it incredible? The boy immediately forces a big smile and raises both thumbs. Yes, it is. Inside his mind, however, he thinks nervously. If I said otherwise, he'd get upset and make me starve until I admit it is. The old master stares at him silently. Yes? Then he strokes his beard thoughtfully. Seems like you haven't grasped the practicality of this technique. Let me show you how good it is. He steps forward and lowers his stance. Watch very carefully. The boy lazily responds. Sure. Suddenly, ha! The old master launches into the air with explosive force and slams down toward the ground like a falling meteor. The impact sends a violent shockwave outward. The boy's eyes widen in pure shock. Electric? A terrifying aura erupts around the old master as dust and energy explode in every direction. For a brief moment, the boy sees something unbelievable. Behind the old master, the overwhelming presence of a gigantic wolf appears, growling fiercely as if it's about to devour everything in its path. The pressure is so intense that the boy freezes in place. His eyes tremble in disbelief as he realizes the terrifying power hidden behind what looked like simple jumping. The boy stands frozen in the clearing, his legs trembling. A small stream of liquid slowly runs down from his shoe onto the ground. The old master notices immediately and leans in close, yelling right into the boy's face. "Ch! Don't act cocky if you're such a coward. Come to your senses, brat." The boy stares back in stunned silence. The old master scoffs and shakes his head. Wetting your pants at your age? What will you ever achieve if you're such a wimp? The boy swallows hard, still shaken. What was that? The old master strokes his beard calmly. So you want to learn now, do you? The boy nods. Yes. The old master begins explaining. Wolf step doesn't only imitate a wolf's movements, but also its vigor. As he speaks, the image of a wolf chasing its prey appears in the boy's mind. When wolves hunt, they crush their prey's morale before attacking. The wolf closes in on the fleeing deer. They emit bloodlust, like what you felt just now. The bloodlust immobilizes the prey's movements. The wolf leaps forward viciously, and the wolf goes straight for the killing bite. The old master looks back at the boy. When I emitted just a slight amount of bloodlust towards you, you couldn't do anything. His voice turns cold. If this were a real fight, you'd already be dead. The boy stands there, still shaken, a drop of sweat sliding down his cheek. The old master looks at him calmly and asks, "What do you think was the distance between you and where I was standing earlier?" The boy thinks for a moment and answers, "I'd say about 30 feet. Suddenly, the boy's eyes widen in shock. "Huh?" He begins thinking to himself, "I was believing it to be because he looked like a frog, but he leaped such a long distance." The old master then says firmly, "Wolf step should be used defensively, not for offense." The boy blinks in confusion. "What?" The old master stares straight at him and continues, "You won't need to use movement techniques for offense." The boy scratches his head awkwardly. "Then only for running away?" The old master immediately snaps back, annoyed. "Ah, you fool! What is the weapon you use?" The boy lifts his bow slightly and replies, "A bow." The old master points at him and shouts, "What will you do by rushing at the enemy with a bow? Are you going to whack him with your bow or stab them with your arrows?" The boy fumbles for words. Well, the old master sighs and explains, "The bow is a long-ranged weapon." Then he spreads his arms dramatically while demonstrating. As you saw earlier, wolf step can shorten the distance between you and the target. Conversely, it can also increase said distance. His robes flutter as he moves quickly, illustrating how the technique can close the gap or widen it in an instant. The lesson becomes clear. Wolf step isn't meant for charging enemies, it's meant for controlling distance and keeping a ranged fighter alive. The old master looks at the boy and asks calmly, "If you chased your enemy while emitting bloodlust, they'd feel scared, right?" The boy nods. "Yes." The master continues explaining, "Wolf step is an effective technique for attacking while maintaining a safe distance." Then he casually asks, "Want me to demonstrate it again?" The boy instantly panics, waving his hands in front of him. That's okay." The old master ignores the reaction and continues his lecture. The Mudong faction and the Kunlun faction are constantly competing for the best agility techniques. He strokes his beard thoughtfully. It's hard to say which of Mudong's cloud climbing and Kunlun's cloud dragon glide is better. The boy looks curious and asks, "What about compared to wolf step?" Thwack! Before he can finish, the old master smacks him on the head. "Ouch!" The old master explodes in anger. "You foolish brat! You dare compare the one and only wolf step to those shoddy techniques? You little rascal!" The boy rubs his head painfully. How am I supposed to know? He only just started teaching." The old master raises a finger and says firmly, "To see is to believe. Watch carefully and follow my steps. Ingrain it into your body." Suddenly, whoosh! The old master begins moving. His body spins and glides across the ground in flowing motions, his robes swirling like a storm around him. Each step lands with explosive precision. Crack! The ground cracks beneath his foot as he accelerates, demonstrating the terrifying speed and power of wolf step. The old master suddenly leaps into motion. With a powerful jump, he spins through the air. his robes and hair whipping wildly as streams of force swirl around him. Each movement is swift and precise, like a storm cutting through the forest. The boy watches in awe. When the master finally stops, the ground is covered in footprints. The boy stares down in disbelief. Every time he takes a step, his footsteps are left behind. Looking closer, he realizes something even stranger. About 180 steps, all facing different directions. The old master calmly explains, "These footsteps have been arranged in the directions and sequence used by the wolf step." The boy studies the marks carefully. First go forward, then backwards, then left. He hesitates, trying to remember the order. The old master asks, "What came next?" The boy quickly tries to follow the footprints, but the moment he starts stepping, he spins awkwardly, stumbling between the prints as his body twists in the wrong directions. The old master immediately explodes in frustration. "You useless brat! All I asked is for you to follow the footsteps, so why are you struggling?" The boy sweats nervously while trying to remember. 3 to the right, left once, 3 to the... His balance completely collapses. Wobble. His arms flail wildly as he loses control. Flump. He falls flat on the ground. The old master stares at him in utter disbelief. "Goodness me! Do you not even know how to walk?" He looks completely baffled. "How the heck did you—" The lesson has barely begun, and already the boy has managed to turn a simple stepping exercise into total chaos. The boy continues practicing the complicated wolf step pattern, stumbling across the many footprints carved into the ground. His feet splash through dirt and shallow puddles as he struggles to follow the exact sequence. Watching him for a moment, the old master turns away and says casually, "I'm going to rest." Then he adds sternly over his shoulder, "You're not getting any food until you can do this, so practice well." Night falls. Under the bright full moon, the forest becomes quiet and silver with moonlight. But the boy hasn't stopped. Again and again he repeats the movements, jumping, stepping, twisting his body to follow the strange pattern of directions. His legs tremble, but he keeps going. From behind a nearby tree, the old master secretly peeks out, surprised. That silly boy, he's not even sleeping. The boy leaps again, his movements now smoother than before. Moonlight frames him as he rises into the air, following the pattern almost perfectly. Hours pass. Finally, dawn breaks. Sunlight streams through the trees. The boy lands after completing the sequence and shouts triumphantly, "All right, I did it!" The old master wakes up nearby, rubbing his eyes. When he hears the boy, he looks over and immediately starts yelling, "It took you a whole week to do it once?" He slams his staff down in frustration. "I pity my own life for teaching a fool like you. Gah!" Meanwhile, the boy bends forward, completely exhausted, breathing heavily. "Ha, ha." The old master clicks his tongue. "What's wrong with you? Tired just from that? Tuh!" But as he watches the boy catch his breath, the master's expression slowly changes. Inside his mind, he mutters in disbelief, "Incredible! Even his father, who was said to be a prodigy, took a whole month. And it took me a month and a half." He looks at the boy again, stunned. But he managed to do it in a week. Morning light filters through the forest as the exhausted boy kneels on the ground among the scattered footprints. The old master watches him and shakes his head. "Your inner ki needs to freely flow through your body, but look at you, getting tired so easily." Tch. The boy lowers his head slightly. "I'm sorry." The old master continues his lecture. Even if you've mastered the best mental cultivation method, that is, the Heart Sutra visualization, you also need to properly utilize it. The boy blinks in confusion. Huh? Heart Sutra visualization? Suddenly, the old master freezes. His eyes widen. Oops! Realizing what he just said, he coughs awkwardly and tries to play it off. The truth is, that's the technique I've been teaching you since you were a child. He strokes his beard, pretending everything is normal. To attain empty dharma, you need to be able to use Heart Sutra visualization. The boy looks down at himself, still confused. I guess it's difficult for me because my inner ki is so weak. The old master bursts into laughter. That's because I limited your inner ki. The moment the words leave his mouth, he suddenly covers his mouth in shock. Don't get too impatient. Oop! The boy slowly turns his head toward him. You limited my inner ki? The master quickly tries to backtrack. No, I mean, when you haven't attained the 10th level of Heart Sutra visualization, you can't produce a lot of inner ki. He continues explaining hurriedly. True power will be achieved once you go past the 10th level. Then he waves his hand dismissively. You are simply too unskilled as of now. Don't fret. The boy stares at him for a moment. Then he nods slowly. Oh, I see. But the awkward silence between them suggests the master may have just accidentally revealed a very big secret. The old master wipes the sweat from his forehead and sighs in relief. Whew, that was close. He glances toward the boy practicing nearby and thinks to himself, he reached the 3rd level quickly, so the limitation might release. I'd better keep watch over him tonight. Not far away, the boy continues practicing wolf step, hopping and twisting between the footprints he carved into the ground. Ha! Ha! Each step splashes through the shallow puddles as he repeats the movements again and again. Later, by a rushing stream deep in the forest, the sound of water crashes over rocks. The boy is now training in a different way. Standing in the cold river, he balances rocks on his shoulders and head while stretching his arms outward. More stones sit in his hands as he carefully raises one leg to maintain balance. His muscles tremble as the current pushes against him. A bird screeches overhead. Cree! The boy looks up for a moment, nearly losing his balance. On the riverbank nearby, the old master sits comfortably on a rock beside a small fire. Fish roast over the flames, while steam rises from a kettle. He shouts toward the boy without even looking up. Hey, I told you to keep it steady. Then he adds casually while tending the fire. You won't get to eat if your balance is so poor. The boy struggles desperately in the water, rocks wobbling as he tries not to drop them. Meanwhile, the master calmly drinks from his bottle and flips a roasting fish. The smell of cooked meat drifts through the air. The boy grits his teeth, his stomach growling. Damn it, this is so tiring. I didn't have breakfast, so the smell of meat, it's driving me crazy. The old master bites into the roasted fish and speaks calmly. Hang in there for another hour. You won't starve to death in that much time. He chews slowly and adds, endure. Then he explains the purpose of the brutal training. The purpose of this training is to solidify what you've learned so far and improve the flow of your ki. While the master relaxes beside the fire and eats, the boy continues trembling in the icy river, forced to balance stones, hunger, exhaustion, and the raging current all at once. Standing in the rushing river with stones piled on his head, shoulders, and hands, the boy struggles to keep his balance. The old master points upstream toward a large boulder sticking out of the water. You need to use a movement technique to reach the top of that boulder, no matter how long it takes." Then he adds calmly, "Your training ends when you get on that boulder." The boy's eyes twitch with frustration. I knew something was wrong. This isn't training, it's torture. Damn it. Just as he's trying to steady himself, the old master suddenly adds another rule. "Oh, I forgot to mention." The boy looks up nervously. The master continues while casually drinking from his bottle. "You mustn't go beyond 3 feet within an hour, nor can you stop the training. Understood?" The boy nearly loses his balance in shock. That's ridiculous. How can you move for an hour and stay within 30 feet? The old master glances back calmly. "By walking very slowly. Want me to show you?" Before the boy can answer, the master steps into the river. Balancing stones the same way, he begins moving forward, step by step, very slowly. The water ripples gently as his foot lands. Another careful step follows. The boy watches in disbelief. The master's movement is so slow it almost looks like he's barely moving at all. Yet he keeps perfect balance the entire time. Finally, the master stops and looks back. The boy stares at him, stunned. Whoa, that long to take a single step? For the first time, he realizes the true difficulty of the training isn't speed or strength, it's absolute control over every tiny movement of the body. The old master takes a sip from his bottle and glances toward the river. A sharp cree echoes as a hawk glides across the sky above them. Without even looking concerned, the master calls out, "Hey, your stones wobble. If they fall, you must start over from the beginning." In the middle of the rushing water, the boy suddenly loses his footing. Splash! Ooh! Oh! His arms flail wildly as the current shoves him sideways. The stones slide and shake on his shoulders and head. Bam! The river completely knocks him off balance. He crashes face first into the water. Splash! Water explodes around him as he tumbles under the current. For a moment, all that can be seen is white spray and bubbles. Then his head bursts back above the surface. Water pours down his face while his eyes twitch in shock. From the rocky riverbank, the master watches calmly while grilling food over a small fire. Smoke curls lazily into the air. He sighs. The water is too strong here. Then he shrugs. Well, there goes all your progress. The boy stares in disbelief from the river. The master casually adds, "Tss, tss. You could have had some well-cooked meat if you succeeded." Defeated, the boy drags himself back to the starting spot. He plants his feet in the water again. Gah! The master lowers a rope with stones tied to it. Clack, clack, clack. One by one, the stones are placed back onto the boy, on his shoulders, arms, and head. Silence fills the valley. The river keeps rushing. The sky slowly shifts as time passes. Clouds drift. The sun lowers toward the horizon. Yet the boy keeps trying. Arms stretched out, step, step. By sunset, his body trembles with exhaustion. Still, he lifts his foot again. Water splashes around his leg. Step. The orange sky glows behind him. Night falls. The moon rises high over the forest. The river shines silver under the moonlight. Yet the boy continues. His breathing grows heavy, but he doesn't stop. Another step, and another. At dawn, the sun rises again. A hawk circles above. The boy stands in the river, stones still balanced on his body. His face is hidden in shadow, but something about him has changed. The trembling is gone. The panic is gone. Now, He stands perfectly still. Standing on the large boulder in the middle of the river, the boy throws both fists into the air. "Grandfather, I did it!" Sunlight streams down through the trees, lighting the river as it rushes beneath him. For the first time since the training began, victory flashes across his face. Time passes. The seasons change. Leaves fall from the trees as autumn arrives, drifting quietly through the forest air. Deep within the woods, the old master walks ahead while the boy follows behind him. The master stops and glances back. "Try using the wolf step here." The boy's eyes sharpen instantly. Without hesitation, he moves. Whoosh! His body bursts forward through the forest. Feet barely touch the ground as he darts between the trees. Pa, pa, pa. Each step lands with precise control, his body twisting and sliding between the narrow gaps. Branches whip past him, leaves scatter. He zigzags through the forest at incredible speed, weaving between trunks so quickly that only streaks of motion remain. From behind, the old master quietly watches. The boy's figure flashes between trees again and again like a shadow. The wind from his movement rustles the forest. The old man narrows his eyes. If this is him with the wolf step limited, the day the limitation is released will be... He leaves the thought unfinished. Finally, he raises a hand. "That's enough. Good work, boy." The training, at least for now, is complete. The boy dashes across the forest floor with a burst of speed, sliding to a stop in front of the old master. Dirt sprays behind him from the sudden halt. He looks up, trying to hide his excitement. "A praise from grandfather?" He clenches his fist slightly. "Is my movement technique that great?" For a moment, the old master just stares at him. Then suddenly, "Ha ha ha! Oh, geez!" The old man bursts into laughter. The boy scratches the back of his head awkwardly, embarrassed. After the laughter fades, the boy's eyes light up with curiosity. "Grandfather, how do I move super quickly like you did the other day?" The old master calmly strokes his beard. "You'll be able to do that naturally during practical training." The boy freezes. "Ugh, more training?" The old man shrugs. "I'm not forcing you to learn." Immediately, the boy waves his hands with a nervous grin. "Oh no, I really like training." They continue walking deeper into the forest until they reach a rocky cliffside. A small wooden hut sits nearby, and beside it is a large stone cave sealed with heavy doors. The old master stops. "I'm going to stay here." He then points toward the cave entrance. "While you'll stay there." The boy blinks in confusion. The heavy cave doors swing open with a thunderous sound. Blinding light pours out from inside, casting the old master's silhouette across the ground. The boy squints, staring into the brightness. As his eyes adjust, the inside of the cave becomes visible, a huge tunnel stretching deep underground. "Whoa! I didn't know there was such a big cave." His voice echoes through the cavern. The old master steps forward calmly. "I'll do all the laundry, cooking, and everything, so you just need to live here." The boy's face lights up immediately. "Wow, really?" For a moment, it almost sounds like a reward, but then, from the darkness deep inside the cave, two red eyes appear. Low growling rumbles through the tunnel. The boy's face freezes, his body stiffens. Slowly he turns his head. Whoa! His eyes widen in pure terror. It's a wolf! He points at the darkness with a shaking hand. Behind him, the old master remains completely calm. "It'll be helping you train starting today. Get along." The boy's face lights up immediately. "Huh? But I can train alone." Before he can finish, bang! The massive cave doors slam shut. The boy whips around. The old master's dark silhouette stands on the other side of the glowing doorway as it closes. "Grandfather!" The light disappears, and now the boy is trapped inside the cave, alone with the wolf. The old master stands in the cave doorway, bright light pouring in from behind him. His voice is calm and firm. "You'll stay here. I'll give you food and water." Inside the dark cave, the boy stares at him in disbelief, panic rising in his chest. He quickly points behind him with a trembling hand. What about that wolf?" The master doesn't look worried at all. Instead, he raises his hand slightly. "The wolf might be scary and fast, but you have the wolf step, don't you?" His sharp eyes narrow. "You'll soon realize the difference between a real situation and practice." Before the boy can react, the old master suddenly flicks his fingers forward. Whip! A streak of blue energy shoots from his hand like a beam. Crash! The blast slams into the cave door mechanism, shattering the locking chains and metal pieces. Fragments explode outward. Inside the cave, the boy stares in shock. Ah! He immediately runs toward the door and slams his hand against it. Clunk! But the door doesn't open. His eyes widen. Uh-oh! The realization hits him all at once. He's locked inside. And somewhere in the darkness behind him, the wolf is still there. Chapter 4. Inside the cave, darkness swallows everything. The boy stretches his hand out in front of him, eyes wide with panic. "It's too dark. I can't see anything." He turns toward the heavy door and pounds on it with his fist. "Grandfather! Grandfather!" Outside, the old master stands silently before the sealed entrance. His expression is calm but firm. "It'll be difficult, but you must endure, for wolf step." Inside, the boy keeps shouting desperately, "Grandfather! Grandfather!" But the old man has already turned away. As he walks off, white flakes drift gently from the sky. He pauses and looks up. Oh, first snow of the year. Snow continues to fall quietly around the forest. Inside the cave, the boy slams both fists against the wooden door in frustration. "That damned geezer! All his training is ridiculous!" His voice echoes through the cavern. He clenches his fists tightly. "What am I supposed to train in here?" Then, suddenly, he freezes. A strange feeling creeps up his spine. His eyes shift nervously. Huh? Why do I feel something off? Like the geezer is watching me from behind. From the darkness behind him, two glowing red eyes appear. A wolf emerges from the misty shadows, its gaze locked on him. The boy's pupils shrink. Whoa! The real training has just begun. The boy presses his back against the cave wall, breathing hard. His eyes tremble as he stares into the darkness. Shit! When did it get so close? Panic takes over. He slams his fist against the door and shouts toward the outside. "Geezer, open the door! The door!" His voice cracks with fear. What kind of geezer feeds his only grandson to the wolves? Sweat runs down his face. His mind races. If I had my bow, this wouldn't even be a problem. Then he hears it. A low growl. Heavy breathing. The mist in the cave shifts as a massive shadow moves. The boy gulps. It's coming. From the fog, the wolf steps forward slowly, its red eyes glowing like embers. Saliva drips from its mouth. The chain around its neck rattles softly. Then suddenly, boom! The wolf launches forward like a missile. Its claws slam into the ground, sending rocks and dust flying as it lunges straight at him. The boy's heart nearly stops. He jumps sideways just in time as the beast crashes into the ground where he stood. Crack! Stone shatters under the impact. The wolf immediately pivots, snarling, its glowing eyes locking onto him again. The chain clinks as it prepares another attack. The boy grits his teeth. Fear floods his body. But in that moment, one thought cuts through the panic. Only wolf step can save me. The wolf leaps again, jaws wide open. The boy twists his body and kicks off the ground, using the movement technique his grandfather forced him to learn. His body slides past the wolf's charge by a hair's breadth. The beast's jaws snap shut with a vicious crunch, missing him by inches. Inside the cave, the deadly training has begun. Pressed against the cave wall, the boy watched the wolf circle him in the dim light. Its red eyes burned through the mist as it prepared to strike again. Suddenly, the beast lunged. Its massive body shot through the air, claws extended, aiming straight for him. Thud! The boy's foot slammed against the ground as he forced himself to move. Dust burst from beneath his step as he tried to activate the technique his grandfather had drilled into him. His breath trembled. Crap, I'm too slow. I need to use wolf step. The wolf landed and spun back toward him, its glowing eyes locked onto its prey. The boy's mind raced. An opening. I need to find an opening. Sweat ran down his face as he watched every twitch of the beast's muscles. The wolf crouched again, then charged. In that instant, the boy's eyes widened. There! He finally saw it, the briefest gap in the wolf's movement. But the beast was already upon him. The wolf's huge body crashed down, slamming into him and driving him to the ground with crushing force. A deafening impact echoed through the cave. The wolf loomed over him, jaws open wide, rows of razor-sharp teeth inches from his face. Its red eyes blazed with killing intent as it roared. Grah! The boy struggled beneath the monster's weight, barely managing to roll aside before the snapping jaws closed. The wolf landed beside him, growling deeply as dust swirled around them. Both of them rose again. The beast prowled forward, muscles tense. The boy steadied himself, breathing hard. The real fight had only just begun. The boy clenched his fist and grinned wildly, eyes blazing with adrenaline. "How's that, you wolf brat? Hurts, doesn't it?" he shouted, raising his arm in triumph. His grin widened into a fierce laugh. "I'll really get you if you dare come at me again! Ha ha!" Across the cave, the wolf stood in the mist, its glowing red eyes fixed on him. Blood dripped from its mouth as it growled low and threateningly. A single drop of liquid fell through the air. Drip. The moment shattered as it struck the ground. The boy's expression hardened. He quickly sat down, crossing his legs as he focused inward. "I got lucky there," he thought. "If I don't cultivate my stamina through ki concentration, I'll lose." Energy began to swirl around him as he steadied his breathing, forcing his body to recover. Suddenly, thud. A door somewhere in the cave opened, and bright light flooded inside. The boy turned his head. A voice echoed from outside. "Here's your dinner. Enjoy!" Something wrapped in straw flew through the doorway, spinning through the air before hitting the cave floor with a heavy thump. It rolled across the ground, but before the boy could reach it, the wolf dashed forward. In a blur of motion, the beast snatched the bundle in its jaws and bit down greedily. The boy froze on the ground, staring. The wolf tore into the food right in front of him, chewing loudly. The boy's face darkened with frustration as he watched the beast devour the meal meant for him. The wolf tore into the bundle greedily, straw scattering across the cave floor as it devoured the food meant for the boy. The boy glared at it with clenched teeth. Tastes good having it all alone, doesn't it, you little tramp? He snapped bitterly. Then he turned away with a frustrated scoff. Yeah, go ahead. Enjoy it all by yourself. His stomach growled painfully. Sitting cross-legged on the cold stone, he groaned and rubbed his belly. The hunger's driving me crazy. Days passed in the dark cave. The only thing he had consumed was the damp cave mist and a few drops of water falling from the ceiling. Looking up at a droplet glimmering above him, he muttered weakly, "The only things I've consumed these past 4 days have been this water." His body trembled from exhaustion, but his eyes slowly sharpened with determination. I need to be faster than that wolf if I want to survive. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Sleep tried to claim him, his eyelids drooping, but he forced himself to stay awake. I can't sleep. It'll eat me if I fall asleep. His head slowly sunk forward despite his efforts, fatigue overwhelming his body. In the darkness behind him, the wolf approached silently, red eyes glowing as it crept closer to its vulnerable prey. Just as it prepared to strike, the boy suddenly shouted, "Jump!" His body shot upward instantly, lifted by a burst of ki as he leapt into the air. He opened his eyes with a sly grin. "No you don't. Thought I was sleeping, huh?" Below him, the wolf snarled angrily, baring his fangs as its glowing eyes burned with rage, realizing it had been tricked. Light suddenly burst through the cave window as something flew inside at incredible speed. The boy reacted instantly. His body shot upward, moving with explosive force as beams of light streaked past him. In the next moment, he landed in the air, clutching a bundle of food tightly in his arms. Below him, the wolf looked up in shock. The boy grinned triumphantly and tore into the meat with hungry bites. "Ha ha ha! Your turn to starve this time." Outside the cave, the old man watched quietly. A satisfied smile formed on his face as he clenched his fist. Good, he's done it. Later, the boy stretched his arms high while sitting on the cave floor, looking refreshed. Behind him lay the wolf, completely subdued and tied up. "Phew, I slept well," he said with a satisfied grin. "Nice and warm, too. Ha ha." Suddenly, creak! The cave doors slowly opened. A tall silhouette appeared in the blinding light of the entrance. It was the old man. He stared down at the boy and shouted loudly, "Hey, greet your grandfather, brat!" The boy crossed his arms with a smug smile. "Huh, what kind of grandfather leaves his grandson in a wolf's den? Seriously?" The old man simply replied, "Brat, this is all part of your training." The boy's expression hardened as he looked up at him. "If I wasn't as good as I was, I would have been wolf-feed." The old man stared at the boy with a sharp glare, his brows twitching in annoyance. "Ugh, you fool. I knew you were more than capable of succeeding." Then he sighed and added, "And the fact is that you're alive. It was fruitful training, wasn't it?" The boy bent forward tiredly, brushing dust off himself. Whatever. The training's over, so I can leave now, right?" The old man's expression turned serious. "Over? It's only just begun." The boy froze. He glanced over at the wolf lying on the ground, tied up and defeated. With a smug look, he said, "I'm not even scared of something like that anymore. It's nowhere near my level." The old man narrowed his eyes at the boy's arrogance. "Goodness me, you're barely capable for your age." His voice grew heavier with disappointment. "And you've already become so cocky.